If you want to make the most out of the GoPro Hero 11 Black and its insane video modes, then stick around because I've got all the settings the pros will use and change the moment they get the camera out of the box. The first setting that you really need to change on the GoPro Hero 11 Black is the sharpness. You have got high sharpness, medium sharpness, or low sharpness. So why would you want to go low sharpness? Because it's a little bit more cinematic and everybody is wanting to make their stuff look a little bit more cinematic. I mean, look at the differences here between high sharpness, medium sharpness, and low sharpness. Now, depending on what you want to shoot, you might want high sharpness. I'm not sure why you would. So if you want to keep low sharpness, that is the best possible video setting for how your footage will look. It's not going to look digital, which is over sharpened. So it's a more natural, pleasing image to the eye. And if it's more naturally pleasing to the eye, then that's a good thing for your audience. So bring the sharpness down to low. EV comp is the exposure value that makes everything brighter or darker, and by default it's set at 0. In a lot of scenarios, GoPros will overexpose anything that's kind of white. Now, what does overexpose means? It means it blows it out. What does blows it out mean? It means that you can't fix it in post because there is no data there. It will be pure white. It'll be just like whoom, and you can't do anything with it. So what you got to do is drop this down just a tad, minus 0.5 or negative 0.5, depending on where in the world you are watching this video. Hi, my name is Vic. What's going on? Please, yeah. Bitrate, the GoPro Hero 11 Black will go up to 120 megabits per second. It's not huge, but it's enough. So if there's a lot of movement in your shot, you want the maximum bitrate out of the camera. So that means there's going to be less pixelation, there's going to be less blocky things moving around, and the image is going to look as good as it can possibly get if you set the bitrate too high. Yep, files are going to be bigger, but hey, SD cards are cheap, storage is cheap, and you do want the best looking footage, right? And speaking of the best looking footage, if you are serious about making phenomenal looking GoPro videos, then you really should be shooting in 10-bit color. There is a huge difference between 8-bit color and 10-bit color. I mean, we are talking in the billions here of a difference. However, it's not going to be for everybody because you do want to get in and grade your footage, but if you want to get the most out of grading the GoPro Hero 11 Black footage, then shoot it in 10-bit color and leave a comment later and thank me there in the comment, which I love interacting with comments. So now, speaking of color, shoot in flat color profile, because if you're going to be editing 10-bit color, you want the image to be as flat as possible. And there's another couple of reasons why you'd want to shoot in a flat color profile, especially on the GoPro Hero 11 Black. And simply put, GoPros saturate the hell out of their video. So what does that mean? It means everything is very bright and colorful, really saturated looking and vibrant. It's just... and it's not pleasing to the audience, it's a distraction. And if it's a distraction to the audience, there's a possibility that they're going to swipe to the next video or X out of what they're watching, which is what we don't want to do. So once you shoot in a flat color profile, you know, you don't have the saturated look and you can dial it in whatever way you want. So flat color profile. The other thing here, and you probably have figured out there's a little theme to this video, and that's not distracting your audience with weird footage, because you want them to concentrate on the video and the story that you're telling. After all, the camera's only the tool to help you tell the story, and if things look weird, they're like, yeah. The other thing that we don't want to change as often is the white balance. White balance essentially is how warm or cool a scene is, and if you set your white balance to automatic, chances are it's going to be fine. But here's the thing, there's a chance that it might just screw it up and then things look very, very weird and they're distracting. And you remember what we said about distracting? Yeah, boom, gone, see ya. So set the white balance depending on the scenario. You can use a white card to kind of dial it in, but the best thing that you can do, daylight white balance, is about 5500, so you can dial that in. That's standard daytime white balance. If you're kind of in the evening, it's going to be cooler and so on and so forth, but 5500 is a good starting point. And speaking of a starting point, the ISO is kind of an artificial brightness of the sensor on the GoPro. These things are tiny. The sensors are tiny. So there's only so much you can actually do. And if there's another setting that you really want to dial in on the GoPro Hero 11 Black, it's the ISO. The minimum should be set to 100 and the ISO max should be set, I feel, no more than 200 or 400 at a push, because the higher you drive this, especially in low light, the more noise that's going to come into the image. And you guessed it, if there's more noise in the image, it doesn't look great and it's a distraction to the audience. And then they're going to go and click somewhere else. And it would be pretty cool if you'd click this video here to nail all the other video settings on the GoPro Hero 11 Black.